What if your grandparents knew how to stay cool in 110-degree heat without spending a single dollar on electricity? Think about that for a second. No power bill, no AC unit, no monthly payment to any company. Just cool air all summer long, for free. Here's the truth. They did know, and the method they used is over 4,000 years old. It was invented in ancient Egypt. It worked in the desert, it worked in extreme heat, and it works today just as well as it did back then. But nobody is talking about it, nobody is teaching it, and there is a very good reason for that. Because the moment you learn this, you will never pay for air conditioning again. Right now, the average American household spends over $500 every single year just on air conditioning. In Australia, that number hits close to $600. In the UK, people are buying AC units like never before because summers are getting hotter every year. And energy companies know this. They are counting on it. Every hot summer is more money in their pocket and less in yours. But here's what they do not want you to know. Staying cool has nothing to do with electricity. It has everything to do with physics. Simple, basic physics that any person can use at home with zero equipment and zero cost. The Egyptians figured this out long before electricity existed, and they lived in one of the hottest places on the entire planet. So what exactly is this method? It is called evaporative cooling, and it is the simplest thing in the world once you understand it. Here is how it works. When water evaporates, it pulls heat from the air around it. That is it. That is the whole secret. When liquid water turns into water vapor, it absorbs heat energy, and that heat energy gets pulled away from the surrounding air. This makes the air cooler. This is the exact same reason why sweating cools your body down. Your skin gets wet, the water evaporates, and the heat leaves your body. Your body has been doing this your entire life. The Egyptians just figured out how to make an entire room do the same thing. In ancient Egypt, wealthy homes had wet reeds hanging in their doorways and windows. Servants would pour water on them throughout the day. The desert wind would blow through those wet reeds and come out the other side as cool air, cooler by as much as 15 degrees Fahrenheit, in the middle of the Egyptian desert, with no electricity, no technology, just water and airflow. Pharaohs used this, Cleopatra used this. Ancient Egyptian workers building the pyramids used this to survive brutal summer heat. This knowledge existed for thousands of years, and then energy companies came along. They invented the electric air conditioner. They sold it to the world. Because the moment you learn this, you will never pay for air conditioning again. Now here is where it gets even better. You do not need wet reeds. You do not need ancient materials. You can do this today using things you already have at home, things that cost nothing or almost nothing, and the results are shocking. The basic setup is simple. You need water, airflow, and an absorbent material. That is the complete list. You can hang a wet cotton sheet or towel in front of an open window. The breeze comes in, passes through the wet fabric, and enters your room as cool air. This alone can drop your room temperature by 8 to 15 degrees depending on how dry the air is outside. In dry climates, it works even better. In hot, dry summers, this method becomes incredibly powerful. But there is an upgraded version, and this is the one that changes everything. Take a shallow tray or bowl, fill it with ice or very cold water. Place it at an angle in front of a window or any opening where air comes in. The air passes over the cold water, picks up moisture, and enters your room feeling dramatically cooler. This is the same basic principle behind every commercial air cooler on the market, except those machines cost hundreds of dollars and use electricity. This version costs you nothing. You can also use terracotta pots. This is a very old method from North Africa and the Middle East. You take 2 clay pots, one smaller and one larger. You place the small pot inside the big pot. You fill the space between them with wet sand. You cover the top with a wet cloth. The water in the sand slowly evaporates through the clay walls. This pulls heat out of the inside pot. Anything you place inside that small pot stays cold for hours. People in Africa use this today to store food and medicine without any electricity. It is called a Zeer pot, and it is one of the most brilliant inventions that almost no one in the Western world has ever heard of. Now, some people will say this does not work as well as a real air conditioner, and that is true in very humid climates. Evaporative cooling works best when the air is dry. If you are in a dry desert climate, this will feel like magic. If you are in a very humid area, you will still feel cooler, but the effect is less dramatic. However, here is what everyone forgets. A real air conditioner does not just cool the air, it also removes humidity. Evaporative cooling adds some moisture to the air. So in dry climates, it actually makes the air more comfortable to breathe. Your skin stays hydrated. Your throat does not dry out. Many people say the cool air from this method feels much better than the cold, dry air from a regular AC unit. Here is something else nobody talks about. Air conditioning units recirculate the same air inside your room over and over again, the same dust, the same allergens, the same stale air. But evaporative cooling works with fresh outside air. The breeze comes in from outside, passes through the cool wet surface, and enters your room as fresh cool air. This is genuinely healthier to breathe. Doctors in ancient times noticed that people who lived with this type of cooling had fewer breathing problems than people who lived in sealed hot rooms. Now researchers are starting to confirm the same thing again. The secret to health was always in the fresh air. So let us quickly go over the 3 methods you can start using today. Method 1. Hang a wet cotton sheet or large towel in front of your most open window. Soak it fully in cold water. Wring it out so it does not drip. Hang it up. Let the air pass through. Re-wet it every hour or 2. This alone can cool a small room by up to 10 degrees at zero cost. Method 2. Fill a shallow tray with ice or ice-cold water. Place it directly in the path of incoming air from a window or fan. The air passes over the cold surface and enters the room cooler. Add a small battery fan if you want to push the air further into the room. Still a fraction of the cost of any AC unit. Method 3. Build a simple Zeer pot. 2 clay pots, wet sand, wet cloth on top. Place it in a breezy spot. Use it to cool food, drinks, or medicine. No electricity needed. No cost after the initial pots. Works for days as long as you keep the sand moist. Here is the bottom line. You were never supposed to know this. Energy companies make billions every summer because people believe that staying cool requires expensive machines and monthly electricity bills. But the truth has been sitting in ancient Egyptian history for 4,000 years. Water evaporates, heat disappears, air gets cooler. That is physics, and nobody owns physics. Your ancestors survived brutal heat without spending a single dollar. You can too. Try method 1 tonight. Wet a sheet, hang it in your window. Then come back here and tell us in the comments what temperature difference you noticed. I promise you it will surprise you. And if this opened your eyes, wait until you see the next video, because the method we cover next is even older and even more powerful, and energy companies have spent even more money trying to make sure you never hear about it. Stay safe and keep building smarter.